What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guy, Derek, and my guy, JDW, back with you for another episode. And today, guys, we are going to continue our series. And today, we're talking about the defensive line. We talked about the offensive line in the last one. This one, we are switching to the defensive side to start it off. And this one, there is a lot less of a conversation to be had with this unit because for the most part, it's the same. There were some acquisitions made in free agency. Samson Ibukum, it was brought here. And then you had Taven Bryan brought over. And then, of course, we have a couple other guys that were drafted out of Tamiwa Adabari and Titus Leo also being drafted. So the Colts have a couple new faces, but your remaining core stays the same after the Indianapolis Colts basically had one of the better defensive line units last year, actually finished top 10 in sacks last year for an NFL number there. So, I mean, JDW, man, it seems pretty cool that, this defensive line unit is still intact, and hopefully we can continue to see this unit do even better this year than what they were last year.
Yes, sir. That middle of the defensive line is a brick wall. Ain't no one getting past DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. And then you only got the youngster and Adi Tamua coming in, going to bring some competition to them. And ultimately, I think he could be the future at defensive tackle. Buckner's getting up there in age. He's not getting any younger. I think Adi Tamua can be that guy that fills in when he leaves. Adi Tamua has, and this year, he's going to come in 20, 22 snaps a game, and the Colts are going to tell him, just go make an explosive play, and he's going to do that. So I'm excited for this interior. Now, the edge room, I feel like that's where we have more of a conversation because this edge room, it's good, and I think it's very good. But it's going to need to be elite if they really want to help this inexperienced cornerback room out. So, you got Kwity Paye, you got Samson Ibukum, the newly acquired guy, but we're really going to need to see these guys take a next step. Some of these young guys in Kwity Paye, hopefully he could. He really enjoyed a nice season last year. Hopefully some of these guys can just find a way to take that next step. And I think Samson Ibukum, he's a very sneaky addition. Don't forget Deo Dangbo. He's still here. Tyquan Lewis was re-signed. You have a lot. There's a lot that can transpire into a great defensive line with a solid rotation. It can. Will it? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the question mark of the edge group. And I mean, I have less faith in the edge group right now than a lot of other people do.
I agree with you.
I love this unit from the inside. No doubt that guys like Grover and DeForest Buckner in there. And then if you're having Dio Dangbo on the inside, even if you're having Tyquan Lewis take a few snaps, that's always nice because you've got good depth for the inside intangibles. But, I mean, again, you just look at the edge group, and it kind of stinks to look at it because, Kwity Paye, with all the talent in the world to be able to actually do something, but at the end of the day, he's been injured. He's been injured quite frequently, actually. I think he's actually missed 9 games in his first 2 seasons. So, he's missed about 25% of his time so far with the team. And then, of course, you haven't really received anything from Dio Adangbo yet because Dio wasn't ready for the first year. This last year, we saw flashes of Dio Adangbo have some great plays. Especially in the run defense. I think that's the one thing that's very underrated about his game. I think a lot of people want him to turn into a, pass rush juggernaut. But I think the most interesting part of his game is what he does in stopping the run. There's been multiple times where he has stopped running backs in the backfield because of, being able to shrug off guys that are not the same size as him. Because remember, I mean, that's a 6'5" kid who is 270 pounds and has a longer wingspan than LeBron James. I mean, that's just incredible, the intangibles of him. And that's where, the potential needs to produce. And that's where so far we haven't seen it yet. Now, again, to his credit, we didn't see him year one. It's kind of how it was. And then this last year, he had a new defensive line coach, and they're trying to figure things out because they just brought in Yannick Ngakoue. So you have that situation. And of course, you have Samson Ebukam this year, who, again, he's a guy that does exactly what Yannick Ngakoue does. The sack numbers are never elite, but it's a guy that, gets consistent pressure on the quarterback. How does that translate this year? I'm genuinely curious. Coming from the 49ers, I mean, this is a guy that's used to having other people, take pressure away from him. And I wonder if he's going to get that same treatment this year. And then, of course, how does Dio Adangbo progress throughout the year? And you brought Tyquan Lewis back, and it still just isn't the, oh yeah, we have the guy. And I wish that we had the guy on the edge. And just so far, Kwity hasn't been that, because he's been off the field too much to not be. And, we tried to find someone else on the other side, and Yannick was pretty good last year for us, but he wasn't elite.
No, he's not enough.
And I'm cutting off.
No. I said Yannick Ngakoue isn't enough.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You're good.
I thought that was good. Okay. But yeah, and then Ebukam, who knows if he's going to be enough for it? And I mean, who knows how much Dio has, progressed? I hope that he does. I hope that Dio just takes the role, and Ebukam just takes a back seat, or Kwity Paye takes a back seat. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine if Samson Ebukam was the one guy on the edge and Dio Adangbo takes over for Kwity. Listen, these two guys were literally drafted back-to-back rounds in the same draft. And even Ballard said Dio would have been a first rounder had he not been injured that offseason of the draft. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with saying Kwity Paye needs to take a back seat if that means Dio Adangbo gets more snaps. I'm not worried about that at all, because Kwity Paye, so far hasn't shown enough. And, it's just, can DeForest Buckner get back to 2020 DeForest Buckner, I'm sorry. Can he get back to that? Being that disruptor in the middle, because everyone knows DeForest Buckner is the guy now. And unfortunately, that means when he's the guy, he's going to get centered on the most. So someone on the outside edge needs to step up. And I don't know who that's going to be yet. And that's what concerns me.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. You could look at these guys and be like, oh yeah, they can do this. Oh yeah, they can get 10 sacks. Oh yeah, they can get that pressure. But can any of them become that guy? You need a guy on the edge that teams have to look at and be like, yeah, we need to help that tackle out because he's going up against him. We need that type of player on the edge, and that it just changes the game for the defense. Now, I think that the defensive line group may not look as good as it even is this year, because I think teams are going to try to just throw really quick on these very inexperienced young cornerbacks, either quick or, down the field long passes. This defense line, if they want to help these young cornerbacks out, that guy is going to have to emerge.
Yep, absolutely. And
yeah. We also forgot to mention a very sneaky pickup in Taven Bryan. I like that pickup. I think that's it's not edge, but I think it's a very good pickup for the defensive line, behind Buckner, behind Aditomiwa. I think Taven Bryan is a bit of a sneaky pickup as well.
Yeah, I think that it could definitely be a really solid defensive tackle depth piece. And Taven Bryan is just a guy that's just a disruptor. He's not going to be a guy that's going to get big sack numbers, but he's a guy that just creates havoc in the middle, and then that just paves way for other guys to make plays. And I'm fine with that. But then, of course, you got Aditomiwa coming in, and what is his role going to be? Again, this undersized guy for the position, but from an athletic standpoint, one of the most athletic guys at the position that you've ever seen. I mean, a guy that's 280 pounds and runs a 4.6. I mean, that's just not human to be able to do that. So, I mean, does that really help in that aspect? And, how does his game translate? Because he's far from a finished product, and he's far from the biggest guy in the room. But we have seen, guys like Aaron Donald, who are small for the position, come out and be elite because they've, one, they got strong, and second, they've really done well with working on their craft. And that's the important aspect here, is who's gonna step up and be the leader in the craft department. Needless to say, it's gonna be an interesting year, man, for what this depth is gonna be. But I will say, just from all intents and purposes, though, I mean, you have a lot more options now in the depth department than what you did last year. Once you took Grover Stewart or DeForest Buckner out, a lot of times it felt like, with Eric Johnson there in the middle, it felt like that team really struggled to stop people, including in the run department. That was a team that, gave up a ton of rushing yards last year, which is uncommon for the Colts defensive line. And I think a lot of it just had to do with, when you took Grover Stewart or DeForest Buckner out, you didn't really have a lot of guys in the middle that really stuffed anybody. And maybe now the Colts have a few more of those guys that can actually do that now.
Damn, I sure hope so, because I cannot go through another year like that last year. If last year was just rough, we all know. But I think if there's a guy to watch out for, because Aditami is kind of like a tweener. He can play edge too. Now, is he always going to play edge? Probably not, but he can possibly be our most effective guy off the edge over Samson, over Quiddy, in terms of pass rush and just in general. I could see if we have a player on this defense line right now that not many people know of, that I would say in 2 to 3 years, someone that everyone will know and can be a household name, I think Adi Tanywa has that opportunity to become that type of guy. He's that explosive, and I think he's going to be the guy that replaces DeForest Buckner when, because he's not getting any younger, he's getting older. So I think at a time he was going to be the guy to watch out within these next few years, honestly. And who do you think is going to have the most sacks this year? It's kind of like a tricky question, because we don't know who is going to really show out. I think it's going to be Buckner, maybe Adetomiwa.
I think that at the end of the year, it probably will end up being a Bukum. That's just me. I think he probably ends the year with around 8 or 9 sacks, which, I mean, that would be an okay season. But, everybody else is, somebody else needs to, do more of that. So certainly hope that that's what's going to happen. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. That's the defensive line. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts on the defensive line unit. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in and for all the support. And as always, guys,
go Colts.